The world of NASCAR is no stranger to high-speed drama on the track, but right now, the biggest battle is happening off the asphalt and inside a courtroom. An antitrust lawsuit filed by 23 Racing and Front Row Motorsports against NASCAR is set to go to trial, and the details emerging are absolutely explosive. This isn't just a legal dispute, it's a fight for the very soul and future of stock car racing. At the heart of this conflict is the charter system. Think of a charter as a franchise in other sports. It guarantees a team a spot in every single Cup Series race and a share of the broadcast revenue. These charters are incredibly valuable, but they have an expiration date. The current agreement is set to end after the 2024 season, and teams have been trying to negotiate a new one for what feels like an eternity. What do the teams want? It's pretty simple, at least on the surface. They want the charters to be made permanent. Right now, NASCAR can technically revoke these charters, which creates a huge amount of uncertainty for team owners. These owners are investing hundreds of millions of dollars into their organizations, building state-of-the-art facilities, hiring top-tier drivers and engineers, and developing next-gen technology. They argue that without permanent charters, their investments are built on shaky ground. It's like building a skyscraper on a foundation you don't own. A permanent charter would turn their investment into a secure, long-term asset, much like an NFL or NBA franchise. This would make it easier to attract new investors and ensure the long-term health and stability of their teams. But NASCAR sees things very differently. From their perspective, permanent charters would mean giving up a significant amount of control and leverage. The current system allows NASCAR to hold teams accountable for their performance. If a team consistently finishes at the bottom of the standings, NASCAR has the option to revoke their charter. This ensures that the field remains competitive and that every car on the track is there to race hard. If charters were permanent, a team could theoretically just show up, collect their share of the TV money, and put in minimal effort, with little consequence. NASCAR believes this could dilute the quality of the racing and hurt the sport as a whole. They want to maintain the power to ensure the product on the track is the best it can be. The negotiations have been stuck in a deadlock for months, leading to a major breakdown in trust. In August 2024, NASCAR presented a new 7-year charter agreement. 13 of the 15 charter holding teams signed it. But two teams, 23 Racing, co-owned by basketball legend Michael Jordan and driver Denny Hamlin, and Front Row Motorsports decided to hold out. They felt the deal was good enough and that NASCAR was using its monopoly power to force teams into an unfair agreement. So, in October 2024, they did something unprecedented. They filed a joint antitrust lawsuit against NASCAR and its CEO, Jim France. The lawsuit alleges that NASCAR is operating as an illegal monopoly, controlling both the league and the teams in a way that stifles competition and suppresses the team's financial potential. A key point of contention is the revenue split. Teams currently receive about 25% of the broadcast revenue. They argue that in a fair system, this number should be closer to 50%, similar to the revenue-sharing models you see in other major sports leagues. They believe NASCAR is keeping an unfairly large piece of the pie, preventing teams from becoming profitable and self-sustaining. As this case has moved toward trial, some fascinating and frankly, fiery documents have come to light. One of the most talked about is a letter written by Heather Gibbs, co-owner of Joe Gibbs Racing. Back in May, it was written before the deal was signed, after a tense meeting with NASCAR leadership. In the letter, Gibbs passionately argued for permanent charters. She wrote, "When all the stakes are on the table, teams need to know their worth is valued and secure." She pleaded with NASCAR to trust the owners, calling them the legends and leaders of your sport, and to grant them a permanent spot in your history book. It was a powerful, heartfelt appeal. So, how did NASCAR's top brass react? According to a recently revealed expert report from the lawsuit, not well. The report states that NASCAR CEO Jim France read Heather Gibbs' letter out loud and was reportedly swearing every other sentence. This raw, angry reaction seems to show just how deep the divide is between the two sides. It wasn't seen as a constructive piece of feedback. It was seen as an attack, and it apparently did nothing to help the team's cause in the eyes of NASCAR leadership. This brings us to the trial, which is scheduled to last for 10 days. Jury selection has begun, and the stakes could not be higher. Judge Kenneth Bell, who is overseeing the case, has made his concerns very clear. He stated, "It's hard to picture a winner if this goes to the mat." He is worried about the immense cost of the legal battle and the potential damage it could do to the sport, regardless of who wins. So what are the possible outcomes? If 23 and Front Row Motorsports win, it could fundamentally reshape the entire business model of NASCAR. A court could force NASCAR to grant permanent charters or implement a more equitable revenue-sharing model. This would be a massive victory for the teams, shifting the balance of power and potentially ushering in a new era of financial stability for team owners. It could make team ownership a much more attractive investment and lead to a stronger, healthier sport in the long run. However, if NASCAR wins, it would be a huge validation of their current business model. It would reinforce their authority and their control over the charter system. The two holdout teams, 2-3 Xi and Front Row, would likely be forced to accept the 7-year deal that the other teams have already signed, or risk being pushed out of the sport's top series altogether. A win for NASCAR would mean that things continue more or less as they are, with the sanctioning body holding most of the cards. Of course, there's always the possibility of a settlement. Even with the trial underway, both sides could still come to an agreement at any time to avoid a risky verdict. But given how dug in both sides are, with each believing they have a winning case, a settlement seems less and less likely. This legal fight is expected to be a long one. Most experts, like Bob Pockrass of Fox Sports, predict that no matter what the jury decides, the losing side will appeal. This case could easily end up in the U.S. Court of Appeals, which could drag the process out for another year or two. What does all this mean for you, the fans? In the short term, not much will change. The cars will still be on the track every weekend, and the racing will be as intense as ever. It will determine who holds the power, how the money is divided, and what it means to be a team owner in the pinnacle of stock car racing. It's a high-stakes showdown where the finish line isn't on a racetrack, but in a courtroom. We'll be following every twist and turn, so make sure you're subscribed for all the latest updates on this landmark case. Thanks for watching.